It's the 4th annual Muppet Fan Hall of Fame induction ceremony where we will be honoring Will Carrol, Beth Cook, Stephanie D'Abruzzo, Jay Fosgitt, Gav, Richard Michael Goemez, Richard Hunt, Brian J. Jones, Rita Moreno, Anthony Strand and Ryan Rowe of Moving Right Along, a Muppet Movie podcast, the Museum of the Moving Image, Karen Garrity and Adam Kruetinger of Puppeteers, and Tori Schmidt, featuring appearances by Will Carrol, Beth Cook, Julia Gaskill, Gav, J.D. Hansel, Joe Hennes, Brian J. Jones, Shane Keating, Andrew Kilpatrick, Becca Petunia, Ryan Rowe, Tori Schmidt, Matthew Soberman, and Anthony Strand.
Julia Gaskill here from ToughPigs.com, back after 1 year where I was inducted into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. I have returned to now induct my own inductor. I am here to just shout out with all of the love and support my colleague, my fellow podcaster, and most importantly, my friend, the incomparable Beth Cook. I don't think any explanation is needed as to why Beth is being inducted today in this video. Her credentials are known far and wide by just about anybody in the Muppet fan community. But in case you don't know, no one knows Fraggle Rock like Beth Cook. Whether it's the characters, the music, the story arcs, the beats, the scenery, the one-off characters, the food, which she, on her own time, will try to recreate, or I just guess create in general. If it's on the show, Beth knows it, even without having the reference of the tome. I know all of this because besides being her friend and doing Tough Pigs with her, we share the podcast Fraggle Talk between the two of us and our friend Adam. And on that show, Beth is just so knowledgeable, and the grace and voice that she brings to the podcast is one that I cherish and aspire to have myself in how I look at the Muppets and also all of my other fandoms. She truly has such an amazing perspective on things, obviously Fraggles and Muppets, but also just about anything else that she speaks on. I am so grateful that I was the person that she reached out to first to talk about starting Fraggle Talk. As someone who has done it before, I know how much time and effort goes into making a podcast. It's really easy to be excited and invested at the start and then realize what a huge commitment it is and then kind of just let it all fall away. And there is a likely chance if almost anyone else had asked me to venture back into the world of podcasting, like almost a decade after I stopped doing it, I would have said no. But with Beth, I just trusted her instantly. I knew that it could be something amazing. I felt that in all of our early on conversations, like, this is someone I want to work with. This is someone I want to speak to regularly and just talk in depth about Muppets and everything else that comes with it. And to be clear, I just also want to be clear, all of the behind the scenes work is Beth's doing for our podcast. The research, the scheduling, the editing, the gentle nudge to respond to the editing, the scheduling inquiries, like all of it is Beth. Adam and I watch the episodes. We show up. We're happy to do the work there. Everything else is Beth Cook. That podcast would not be in existence without her. She is just as hardworking as she is kind. Beth has such a good heart. Anyone who listens to Fraggle Talk will know this, as will anyone who's taken even just a minute to talk to her and get to know her. She is understanding, patient, and just one of the best people that you ever will get to meet. She is someone who I have watched go through a lot of life changes in the last couple of years. She is someone with so much strength and resilience, and I just have nothing but absolute love and respect for her in all that she does. Even when times are tough, both in personal life or, national global trash fire, Beth shows up prepared, ready, and excited to talk about Fraggles with us. And it is something that I genuinely cherish as well. I said this in my speech last year after she inducted me, but I'm going to say it again now because it still remains true. Beth, you make the world franklier just by being yourself and being in this world. We're all the better for it, for having you here. So it is my absolute pleasure, privilege, honor, all of the good things to now induct the one, the only Beth Cook.
Richard Hunt came to us right out of high school, I think, and started working in small ways and slowly built up to where he's doing major characters.
When I came into the thing, I was 18, and I was really energetic, and, you know, I'd say, yeah, sure, everything you want to do, boss, no problem. I talked a lot like him. He's my voice when I was younger, like this.
It's important to know that everyone needs to start somewhere. Before he was Scooter, before he was Janice, before he was Beaker, before he was Statler and Don Music and Sweetums and Forgetful Jones and Junior Gorg and hundreds of others. Before he was beloved by Muppet fans all across the internet and the world. Before people made fan cams and fan sites. Before Jessica Mack Stein published her biography. Before all of us in this community loved Richard, and before he became one of the greatest puppeteers of all time. Before all that, he was a fan just like us. A teenager watching Sesame Street and dreaming of his future. Though he may no longer be with us, his spirit is kept alive by fans of his work to this day. It's my honor to induct Richard Hunt into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame.
The Taj Mahal, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the Empire State Building, the Cathedral at Notre Dame. What do these magnificent structures all have in common? They stink! And do you know why? Because none of them have Kermit the Frog. But you know what building does? The Museum of the Moving Image. Since 1988, this beloved institution has been educating the residents of Queens and beyond about the art of movie making and more. And since 2017, it has been home to the Jim Henson exhibition, where you can see real live Muppets behind plexiglass. Look, Daddy, it's Fonzie Bear. That's right, son. It is also home to the many screenings of rare Muppet material hosted by Muppet historian Craig Shemin. This is cinema. But most importantly, Momi has become the premier gathering place for Muppet fans of all ages in the New York metropolitan area. We get to hang out, meet some Henson royalty, and spend a lot of time talking about Muppets. Hey, what'd you think of the Gray Muppet Caper? It wasn't so great to me. Hey, you can leave now. So hats off to you, Momi, for being inducted into this year's Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Not only are you an important part of the fan community, but you're also the first inductee made of brick and mortar. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Matthew Soberman from ToughPigs. If I had to sum up Will Carroll in one sentence, it would be this. Will never does anything halfway. His love and passion can be seen in every piece of art he creates, whether it's paying tribute to the Muppets through the lens of classic animation or puppeteering zany characters. Will puts his very soul into his work. But that's public knowledge. I want to talk about the Will Carroll that I've been extremely fortunate to get to know personally over the years. Will has never failed to go the extra mile for his friends. This is a man who I have witnessed lug a large cooler loaded with homemade ice cream halfway across Midtown Manhattan so that fans doing a walking tour would have a special dessert to celebrate Jim Henson's birthday. Like I said, he never does things halfway. He would never settle with generic store-bought ice cream. He took the time and effort to make something from his heart. And to further highlight his dedication, these were no ordinary flavors. Will attempted to make his own version of honey and dragonfly ripple straight out of the Muppet movie. They were delicious, by the way. Generous doesn't even begin to describe him. On multiple occasions, I've been the recipient of prints and trading cards featuring his art, absolutely free. He never asks for a dime, he just loves to share his work with the people around him. He also creates beautiful pieces for the Muppet performers and designers that appear at events, just to say thank you. That's how big-hearted he is. I'll close with one more anecdote. As a few of you already know, and the rest of you are about to find out, in early March, I took a bad fall while walking in New York City and broke my right arm. I snapped my humerus in half. And the best chance of it mending was to undergo surgery. I'm a night owl by nature, but with a 5 a.m. report time to the hospital, there was no way I was sleeping that night. Luckily, there was someone else who was awake in those wee small hours of the morning, and that was Will. He had just been elected to the Hall of Fame, and I messaged him to congratulate him. We must have talked for hours as he reminded me that everything would be fine. Without him, I don't know how I would have gotten through that scary time. But that's the kind of guy he is. Generous in time, generous in effort, and generous in spirit. These are the kinds of ideals that I think all Muppet fans should aspire to. It is my honor and deep privilege to induct my friend Will Carroll into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame.
So that's what a frog looks like. Well, you learn something new every day. I mean... Oh, hi. I didn't think I'd be on so soon. The little guy back there said I had about 15 seconds before I was on. Oh, Lord, it's so hard to find good help these days. Anyways, hi. My name is Will, and I am just eternally shocked and amazed and flabbergasted that I am here inducted into the Muppet Twitter Hall of Fame. I just am just shocked and amazed and just eternally tongue-tied about what to say and how to express my feelings over having this sensation of knowing that there are hundreds of thousands of people who feel the same way about the amazing work that Jim Henson has brought to the world through his Muppet creations. I just don't know what to say. There's so many people I want to thank and so many things I want to say, and I just don't know what to say. I'm just so shocked. But I will say this. if it wasn't for Jamie Carroll, who I also share a namesake with, I would not be here today because he got me involved with everything. He got me involved with the ToughPigs mural for the 20th anniversary, and from there, the floodgates opened, and now I know so many hundreds of amazing people who are obsessed with the Muppets as much as I am, and I am eternally grateful to him. But he is not the only person on my road to fame as I am today. There are so many amazing people I want to thank, including Joe Hennes, Matthew Soberman, Shane Keating, Becca Petunia, Richard Michael Goemez, Dave Holteen, Jay Fosgitt, and of course, Tori Schmidt, the ever-lovely and amazing Tori Schmidt, who was our hostess for the evening. All of these amazing people have influenced me in so many ways over the years, some more than others, especially recently. And it's because of them, and especially the love and support of my family, who helped fund my little fetish of Over the Muppets. First time you ever heard fetish on the internet. I am just glad that I am here today, and it's because of all these amazing people and all the amazing opportunities I've had to meet so many amazing people who have just brought upon the Muppets in some way, shape, or form. It's just amazing knowing so many people like Craig Shimon, Stephanie DeBruzzo, Lucas Ross, Michael Frith, all these and more I have met over the years, all because I have become associated with this eclectic group of nut jobs, and I am all the more grateful for it. I'm sorry, all I can say right now is thank you, and here's to having an amazing future as Muppet fans in the future. Ciao!
Rita Moreno has a lot of awards. An Academy Award, 2 Emmys, a Golden Globe, a Grammy, a Tony, a Lifetime Achievement Award from both the Latin Grammys and the Screen Actors Guild. She is a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She was declared a living legend by the Library of Congress. She was awarded both the National Medal of Arts and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, not to mention a Kennedy Center honor and a Peabody Award. And tonight, adding on to that absolute pile of achievements, is an induction into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Rita Moreno guest starred on The Muppet Show in 1976, which actually gave her that E in her EGOT. And it's often considered to be one of the best episodes of, if not the first season, the entire show. On top of that, she recorded vocals for Sesame Street, hosted The Muppets Go Hollywood, and often considers The Muppets to be some of her best co-stars. It's my honor to induct Rita Moreno into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Movin' Right Along, a Muppet movie podcast. Brought to you by ToughPigs.com, where we watch the Muppet movie 2 minutes at a time and then talk about it a lot. I'm Anthony Strand.
And I am Ryan Rowe, and we are your hosts. And this is the first episode. Welcome to the first episode, Anthony.
Same to you.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Muppet Fan Hall of Famer Joe Hennes, and I hate podcasts. At least, that's what I used to think. The ADHD part of my brain just couldn't focus on words without pictures. I mean, have you ever seen me reading a book? I just couldn't be bothered to pay attention to people talking if there weren't also silly wiggling dolls to look at the same time. But as it turns out, I was just waiting for the right podcast to come along. Or to come right along. Reference. If you told me that there'd be a podcast featuring deep dives into Muppet movies with the voices of 2 of my best pals, I would think that this show would be custom made for me and me alone. And that podcast in question is, of course, Movin' Right Along. Ryan Rowe and Anthony Strand have undertaken the Herculean task of chopping up the Muppet movies into 2-minute chunks and talking about them a lot. And I do mean a lot. They have produced over 280 episodes covering 5 feature films and 15 assorted specials and extras and whatnot. They even did 24 daily episodes over the course of a single month covering just Muppet Family Christmas, which may be the greatest Christmas gift that I have ever received. I say this to Ryan and Anthony all the time, but Movin' Right Along is easily my favorite podcast. I like it more than any of the podcasts that I have produced myself. I get excited every time there's a new episode, and I get sad when they're on hiatus in between seasons. It is an incredible effort, and it's easily the longest love letter to the Muppet films that is in existence anywhere. What Ryan and Anthony have achieved over the years is an in-depth creative commentary and detailed behind the scenes of the Muppets filmography, and they've accomplished the whole thing with the feel of just sitting around and hanging out with your old friends who you've just met. It's another reference. As of now, Movin' Right Along has somewhere between 3 and 5 years before they're all caught up with all the Muppet movies. And while I'll always hope that the Muppets will make another feature film, the main reason for that is because I want Ryan and Anthony to keep this show going for just a little bit longer. I am overjoyed to award Movin' Right Along the biggest honor ever given to a podcast, an induction into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Hello, and welcome to the Movin' Right Along Muppet Movie Podcast acceptance speech. I'm your host, Ryan Rowe.
I'm your other host, Anthony Strand.
And this is the acceptance speech where we watch last year's ceremony of the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame 2 minutes at a time and talk about it a lot.
In this episode, we're talking about minutes 73 and 74 of the third annual Muppet Fan Hall of Fame speech, Muppet Fan Hall of Fame award ceremony. In these minutes, Hennes finishes introducing Matthew Soberman, and Matthew Soberman starts his acceptance speech.
Wow, these are some really great minutes.
I like it when Matthew says that ToughPigs inspired him. No, we're not doing that. That was a goof.
That was a goof. We were just playing around.
We're just goofing.
Yeah.
But we are honored to be here and to accept this because it means the world to us that anyone listens to our podcast.
At all, yes. It's so flattering that anybody wants to hear us talk about these Muppet movies.
We started a podcast about Muppet movies to have an excuse to talk to each other and to our friends about Muppet movies regularly. And we've been doing it for coming up on 8 years now. Yeah. And
5 movies?
5 movies. We start in the 6th one someday. We're going to go back there someday, if you will, to quote a song that's in the closing credits of that film. But we're just so honored that we have an enthusiastic audience. We get such great feedback. Thank you to everyone who nominated us for this award, voted for us. It truly means the world to us in a way you will never know.
Yes, that's all true. Thanks to everyone who, listens to the podcast or has listened to a single episode ever of the podcast. Also, we should probably thank our spouses, my wife, Stacy, and Anthony, your wife, Roz, for putting up with us disappearing for hours at a time, once a week at least, to record the podcast.
Yeah, we couldn't do it without them. We really couldn't.
Yeah, big thanks to them. Actually, we should also thank the Star Wars Minute guys who came up with the idea for this podcast format in the first place. Pete the Retailer and Alex Robinson. I don't know if they've ever listened to Moving Right Along, but big thanks to them for coming up with the format.
Yeah, and thanks to them for voting for us if they did, which they probably didn't.
Right. Anyone else?
All right, well, our wonderful our wonderful logo designer Morgan Davey, who gave us this eye-catching logo on podcast apps, which I really do think is a huge benefit to us. It looks great.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll mention my wife Stacy again because she wrote the first several of our theme songs for the first few seasons there. And also we should thank all of our guests, from our friends, as you mentioned, to various people who are actually connected with the Muppet movies, to various pop culture experts. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yes, we have been so fortunate to have so many wonderful people on the show. And many of them multiple times. Like, many of them have been willing to come back, which is a surprise and a delight every time that we get a return guest.
Yes. And if it were up to us, all of them would get a free watch.
Did you say get a free watch?
Yes, I said get a free watch.
I like to get a free watch. And
Okay,
also,
so
thank you, Tori.
Yes, thank you, Tori.
Didn't say that yet. For doing the whole awards and also being an enthusiastic supporter of the podcast and all that. But yeah, we'll be back next week with minutes 75 and 76, where, I don't know, Matthew's probably still talking.
Yeah, keep an eye out.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey everybody, it's Tori Schmidt, and before we move on, I want to take a quick moment and highlight some of the other inductees that have been inducted into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame this year. Starting with Jay Fosgitt. Jay Fosgitt has been a Muppet fan for a very long time and has been a prominent fan artist in the community since about 2009, but his fandom goes much deeper than that because when he was a kid in the 80s, he wrote a letter to Jim Henson, and that letter is actually currently on display at the Museum of the Moving Image. On top of making a lot of glorious Muppet fan art, he's also done official Muppet art, providing illustrations to both the Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock comic book series. He's a true legend in the Muppet fan art scene, and it's my honor to induct him into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Speaking of fan artists, it would be remiss in that if you have a conversation with Muppet fan artists, it would be remiss if you didn't bring up Richard Michael Goemez, artist, puppeteer, puppet builder, musician, community builder, friend, and local hooligan. It might be easier to say what Richard Michael Goemez can't do. He's only been around since around 2020, but he has really quickly become one of the most prominent names in this community, and the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame wouldn't be a good institution if it didn't induct him, and so it is my honor to induct Richard Michael Goemez into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. And before we move on, I would like to take a quick second to shout out the previous recipients of the Benny Vandergast Memorial Award, which up until this point was a part of the now-defunct Muppet Twitter Awards, but have all been retroactively given inductee status. So congratulations to ToughPigs, Muppet Wiki, and the Muppet Mindset on their retroactive inclusion into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. And without further ado, the next thing!
I'm just trying to get his attention, Bert. Isn't this fun? La 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 dee 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 dee.
Ernie, this is no time for singing.
Well, come on, Bert. Come fly with me in an upside-down world. There's so many strange things to see. There's upside-down people who walk down the street with upside-down shoes on their upside-down feet in an upside-down world.
Ernie!
In an upside-down world.
Ernie, I don't feel so good.
It's fun to be in an upside-down world. There's fish that fall out of the sea.
Oh.
There's upside-down clocks that make everyone late. Upside-down food that won't stay on your plate in an upside-down world. In an upside-down world.
Oh, my bottle cap collection!
Hey, listen, I got an idea, Bert. How'd you like to take over the controls?
No!
Yeah, Bert, it's really easy.
No, never in a million years!
Hey, Bert, I'm gonna trade places with you.
What? No, Ernie! There's upside down everything all over town. It all looks so funny that I've got to frown. 'Cause a frown is a smile when it's turned upside down. In an upside down, what's side down, whoopside down, oopside down, what's side down, upside down world. Hey, don't stop, this is fun.
There's no time for fun now. We gotta find Big Bird.
Oh
no. I'm afraid you've lost him, Bert.
I've lost him?
Yeah, well, you were singing, Bert.
But you were singing too. Oh, Ernie, you always do this to me.
Why don't you just turn the plane around?
I'm trying my best.
Well,
and
would you just turn the plane around?
You drive it. Come on. You
just turn
drive the plane here,
around.
Ernie. Come on.
What can I even say about Stephanie D'Abruzzo? As one of the longest tenured female puppeteers on Sesame Street, she is absolutely a legend in my eyes. Stephanie has been performing Sesame characters, ranging from Lulu to Grizzy, since 1993. And yeah, none of her characters are principal players on the show, but ask any Muppet fan of a certain age and we'll swear by Elizabeth, she of the brassy attitude and brassier Brooklyn accent. Over the past 32 years, Stephanie has shown so many of us fans that women can be anything, but especially that women can be hilarious. Truly, Stephanie brings an anarchic joy to every character she touches. In 2023, we were lucky enough to see Stephanie join the Disney Muppet team as Tina Teeth on Muppets Mayhem. She fit right in, obviously, bringing so much life to what could have been a one-note character. And that's what Stephanie does, whether it's characters on The Wubbulous World, or Bear, or non-Muppet projects like The Book of Pooh and Puzzle Place. For me, though, the most important role Stephanie has was taking over Fran Brill's role as my favorite Muppet, the character many of you know matters more to me than any other, Prairie Dawn. It was truly a brilliant move, giving Prairie to the woman who once got a Tony nomination for playing what was essentially adult Prairie Dawn in the puppet musical Avenue Q. Stephanie gets what makes Prairie tick, and she knows how to show it better than anyone else I could imagine. I've had the pleasure of seeing her perform Prairie, and she's funny in new ways that still feel true to the character. I hope we see more of her Prairie in the future. But most of all, Stephanie just exudes love for the Muppets. Seeing her perform, and seeing her with her husband, Craig Shemin, at the Museum of the Moving Image events, it's always a pleasure. Most of all, I hope we see more Stephanie in the future. I'm so happy to induct her into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Thank you, palsies.
Hi, I'm still Matthew Soberman, and unless they finally found my secret essay about why the Great Muppet Caper actually sucks, I'm still from ToughPigs.com. In 2012, I wrote an article outlining why A Muppet Family Christmas is the greatest Muppet Christmas special of all time. Years later, that would be the introduction to ToughPigs for a young lady named Tori Schmidt. When I first met Tori, I had no idea how important she would become, not only to this fandom, but to me personally. Tori opened my eyes to what we are. With her timeline of the fandoms, we went from being just a bunch of people with a mutual interest to a community with a capital C. We had a history, a legacy that connected us with those who came before. The through line that led from Campo to Muppet Zine to ToughPigs to Muppet Twitter made it all seem obvious in retrospect. We're part of a chain that's bigger than any one of us. But Tori doesn't just have her mind on the past, far from it. Tori celebrates and cherishes the here and now. The Muppet Twitter Awards, sorry, I know it needs to have an X in it, the ex-Muppet Twitter Awards got us all together in our geeky glory to recognize all the cool things the Muppets and the fandom have done. Given how spread out we are across the globe, Jared, giving us an excuse to hang out and nerd out is a huge gift to us all. But I think the effort that most exemplifies Tori is what we're here for tonight, the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. It combines her passion for history and her deep affection for the community. That she's made sure to remind us we have. At her core, Tori is a cheerleader for this fandom, making us all feel like superstars. I'll confess, it's not always easy writing for ToughPigs. The people I work with are all wonderful, but you never know when a piece is going to resonate with readers. It's hard seeing something you work so hard on get a smattering of likes and maybe 1 or 2 reposts. But then someone like Tori comes along to show you that you're really important, and at least one other person in the world loves what you do. And somehow, in that sea of feeling small, she shows you just how big you really are. Now it's my turn to cheer for Tori. Tori, you are appreciated. You are an important part of this fandom, and you are part of the chain that stretches back decades. And for all you give us, you are truly wonderful. It is my supreme privilege to induct the one and only Tori Schmidt into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Yay!
Gosh, that was so kind of you. Thank you, Matthew. I'll talk about you again in a second. When I first created the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame, I never thought in a million years I'd be a member, so that's wonderful. I feel like I don't belong here, but I graciously accept anyway. Thank you so much for the voting body, for voting me in. Thank you. I don't have a speech. I just have a list of people to thank. I want to thank everybody who's ever voted or interacted with or presented or did anything for the Muppet Twitter Awards. I could not have done it. It was a group effort. Thank you to everybody. Those awards meant a lot to the community at the time, and I really loved doing them. Thank you to Travis, who helped me run the awards the third year. I couldn't have done that year without him. I want to thank some people that I interacted with on Muppet Twitter. Muppet Twitter is here. Muppet Twitter was this great thing, and I miss it dearly. To Amy, who was one of my favorite people to have on a podcast, to the brilliant Christy O, to some of my friends I used to talk to in Twitter Spaces, to Millie, to Gav, to Zach, to B, to Mary, to Carson, to Nova, to all of these people, to Richard. Thank you so much. To the class of 2025, congratulations, especially to my congratulations everybody, but especially to my dear friend and beautiful human, Will Carrol. I'm so glad to be sharing a stage with you. And my Muppet Twitter buddies, Gav and Richard. Muppet Twitter's in the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Isn't that wild? I would be remiss not to mention my mother and father, my mom and dad, for funding this Muppet habit and encouraging this Muppet habit, so thank you very much. To the man who started it all, Jim Henson. To the man who started this all, Danny Horn. Thank you both so much. To Robbie and the whole crew at the Muppet Table Reads. Not the one with all the famous people you're thinking about, the other one, the fan one that I was a part of. Thank you all so much. To ToughPigs, to Becca, to Anthony, to Shane, to I'm forgetting people, to Drake, to Katie Lynn, to all of ToughPigs, to Jared, to Ryan. Thank you all so much. To Joe Hennes, who I can call friend, just amazing. To people like John Popovich, to people who I hang out at the Momi, to Momi, and of course, to my two biggest supporters. To Sam Allen. Like, how can I forget Sam Allen of Muppet Gift of the Day, who made me the incredible website and has been a huge supporter of my work. Like, there's just so many people to thank. So many. But above all, I desperately need to thank two men who have been the biggest supporters of my work, who push me not only to be a better Muppet fan and to make better Muppet fan products and projects, but to be a better person. To my two best friends in this fandom, Matthew Soberman and JD Hansel, thank you both so much. Yeah, this is crazy. Thank you. Just thank you guys.
Hi there. Brian J. Jones is an award-winning biographer and vice president of Biographers International Organization. Jones is a devoted member of the Jim Henson generation, having been 2 years old when Sesame Street premiered in 1969 when The Muppet Show debuted in 1976. A former policy analyst and advisor at the U.S. Senate, Jones abandoned politics for the pen in 2008 with the publication of his award-winning biography, Washington Irving. He lives with his wife and daughter in Damascus, Maryland, and his favorite Muppet is Rolf. At least, that's what it says in his author's bio in this, Jim Henson, the biography. But we know Brian J. Jones for a lot more than just this. His book encapsulates the life and work of Jim Henson in a way that doesn't just list his accomplishments, but allows readers to feel like they're a real part of his life. It's a celebration of all things Henson, and who doesn't love a reason to celebrate all things Henson? Am I right? But beyond the incredible accomplishment that is this biography, Brian has become a real friend to the fans and an important part of the Muppet fandom community. He has been vocal on social media as a trusted source of information and stories, and he is quick to agree to be on some podcasts, like a lot of ours through ToughPigs. What I'm saying is we just really like having Brian around. Despite the fact that he's also written biographies on folks like Washington Irving and Dr. Seuss and George Lucas, I believe that he is most proud of his work on Jim Henson, the biography. Maybe that's the power of Jim, or maybe it's because, he's become one of us. But whatever the case, it's always a joy to see Brian come alive when sharing his love of the Muppets. And with that, it is my great honor to give Brian J. Jones a new bullet point for his next book cover bio, inductee into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Brian.
Hi, Terry, and everyone there at the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate receiving this award. It's really special, not only because I'm receiving this in the professional category, but because I really, more than anything, feel like this is an award for my peers. Because like all of you, I'm a Muppet fan too. And I was a Muppet fan first and foremost, have been all my life, well before I ever thought I would ever be Jim Henson's biographer. So I really appreciate the privilege of engaging with the Muppet fan community. It's one of the really nice benefits of having written the biography. I get to engage with this community so often. It's really one of the most supportive and nicest fan bases out there. Everyone takes care of each other and looks out for each other. And I think that's the way Jim Henson would have wanted us to live and to lead and to learn. And so it's a privilege to be with all of you. And I really, really appreciate this. Thanks very much, everyone.
One door's red and the other's blue. When you play the Muppets Party Cruise, it's all about the games you choose. When you play the Muppets Party Cruise.
Hi, my name is J.D. Hansel. I'm a writer for ToughPigs, and I have been given the honor of inducting my friend Gav into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Gav is a prominent Muppet Wiki editor, and he's also one of our community's great archivists of Muppet video footage. But when I first met him, he was kind of a mystery to me. The year was 2021. It was the age of a great revival of Muppet fandom. The release of all 5 seasons of The Muppet Show on Disney Plus spawned renewed interest in the Muppets, new podcasts about the Muppets, and the rapid formation of an online community known as Muppets Twitter. All kinds of fan projects were born there, and many lasting friendships were formed there. That's where I met an artist named Richard Michael Goemez, and as we talked about our creative interests, Richard kept saying, "JD, you really need to meet Gav." And I would ask about who Gav was, and what he did, and why I should meet him. Never getting a clear answer. Finally, Gav and I both joined one of Richard's many Twitter spaces, and I finally got to hear the voice of the person who had thus far seemed to have no discernible voice or age or last name or physical form. As he spoke, all I heard were disconnected fragments of Gen Z gobbledygook that my brain was simply too old to decipher. I was 25. After months of seeing fun conversations among friends over Twitter Spaces being interrupted when Gav would appear and insert loud and scary sound effects, I finally began to understand Gav. It all clicked when Gav played an audio clip of someone singing an unfamiliar children's song, seemed to be called Look at Me. Someone with a voice that sounded sort of like mine. Gav then questioned me saying, "Care to explain this, JD?" Of course I couldn't. It wasn't me. I spent the next hour trying to convince my dear friends that I did not know what this song was and trying to get Gav to drop the act. Instead, Gav successfully gaslit all of my friends, defining the word many of us have come to use time and time again, Gavlighting. That's when I got it. The deal with Gav is that he's untrustworthy and ruins connections. And then it turned out I was totally wrong. You see, Gav may be one of the youngest people to enter this Hall of Fame, but he's been contributing to the Muppet fan community for over 8 years. His earliest known upload to YouTube was in February of 2017, and he has continued to share rare Muppet material with his fellow fans ever since. His first recorded Muppet Wiki edit was just a few months later, adding a picture to the page for C is for Cookie. Since then, Gav has made over 3,000 edits to the Wiki and established himself as one of its most vital contributors. I had the privilege of joining him for one of his research trips to an archive to go through some primary sources. I could tell that Gav was seriously invested in spreading Muppet knowledge, and it only became clearer and clearer over time that he did so very professionally and responsibly. Like, when Gav has super rare top secret Muppet material on his hard drive, I know that's never going to make it onto my hard drive. It's never happened, and I'm never going to see it on YouTube. But when he finds rare pieces of the Muppets' history that he can share, and he's always finding more, he understands that it's supposed to be something our whole community gets to enjoy. It becomes something for all of us to share that brings us together. Whether you were aware of it or not, a lot of Muppet material you found on the web was probably only there because Gav put it there. And that's not the only way he connects our community. Far from it. He's arranged multiple Muppet fan meetups, and you'll find him attending larger Muppet fan meetups and recording them for posterity. He's active in multiple Muppet fan Discord servers, arranging virtual meetups where everyone watches old Muppet specials. He's given us game nights. He's hosted a Muppet fan Friendsgiving. He's helped some Muppet fans privately with their own personal Muppety projects, and he's encouraged me to go to the middle of nowhere for a screening of The Great Muppet Caper at a drive-in theater. At that drive-in theater, I watched him give the projectionist a rare Muppet film reel as a gift, just so more people can share in the joys of the Muppets. It turns out, Gav is someone who is definitively trustworthy and who builds connections. That's his whole deal. Even as we've seen the social network that brought so many of us together fall to pieces, Gav remains an essential part of what keeps the fan community going, always finding new ways to bring Muppet fans together. He has freely given this community his talents for restoring film footage, puppetry, videography, very funny tweets, impressions of Elmo, Big Bird, and Leroy the Donkey, and even playing the theremin. Gav has meant many things to the Muppet fan community over the years, but this summer, I am honored to declare him a member of the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gav. Originally, I had this big thank you video planned for my induction to the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame, but instead I'm shooting this very last-minute video for my thank you speech. So I want to say thank you. Thank you next. Thank you for letting me be myself again. I want to thank you. Thank you for the music. Thank you, A Man After Midnight. Take a thank you on me. Thank you, Eyes. Thank you to the...
So how you guys doing?
Good. How you doing? It's good to see you.
I keep looking at myself instead of you guys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being our first guest for this. It's all new to us, but we're just really happy to have you. So thank you.
Absolutely. This is new to you. Well, you can only imagine what it is to me.
That's right. So Adam is definitely like the builder. I did about us. Of us. Yeah.
Between us.
I did about the first 3 years of building out of necessity and not building anything that good. And then I met him before I kind of broke through that time. So Adam builds the puppets and I build the spreadsheets. I do all of our producing and stuff.
Oh, very cool.
So that's dynamic.
Can't you just use kids' clothes? Can't you just use like a Build-A-Bear outfits? It's like you can do whatever you want. You can do, but you just better hope that you built your puppet to the shape of a kid, or you built your puppet to the shape of a Build-A-Bear. Other than that, it's like you got to build it to fit what you're building.
I was on a set a couple years ago where I was performing a character that was sitting on a couch next to a human actor, one of our good friends, and we were working real late. It was like the 14th hour of the shoot day, and we're just shooting shit between takes, and it's like 10-15 minutes have gone by, and finally Bob, the actor, just starts going, Cameron? He's like, where are you? Yeah. It's like he's sewn into the couch, Bob.
Once I started, taking care of the household, then it just became natural that I would take care of the whole thing.
Yes, the scary thing is it sounds kind of like me and Cameron's relationship.
I was gonna say.
That's why I keep him
I'm
around.
definitely his work wife. I remember being in high school, and I want to say I remember like having to go to like stoptheblock.com to go to ToughPigs and read your articles on like why Menomina is so important. When I was in study hall in high school, so it's
I think I read that one.
Yeah, it's such a great site.
That was a long time ago.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I have a little bit of a different experience with it too. Coming to puppetry a little later, coming to puppetry not through the Muppets is really how I came to it. I kind of reappreciated the Muppets later in my puppetry career.
They love your podcast.
Oh,
Cheers
thank you.
to puppeteers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Hey everybody, I remember in 2020 there was this thing called the pandemic. I don't know if we all remember that. But during that time I really got into Legos. I promise this has something to do with something. And I kind of quickly ran through a lot of the podcasts I was listening to at the time, and so I was scrolling on YouTube looking for something to listen to while I was doing some stuff. And I found this podcast where these two guys interviewed one of my favorite Muppet performers. And I'm like, wow, this is a really in-depth and really well done interview. And then I look into it, and these people had done dozens upon dozens of extremely important interviews with some extremely wonderful people from not just the Muppets, but all across puppetry. I mean, you could tell these people were obsessed with puppetry and knew everything from the in and out. These were these extremely in-depth interviews. Those two people were Garrity and Adam Kruetinger, and that podcast was Puppeteers, which since 2018, or starting in 2018, was a interview podcast where they interviewed dozens of people related from the Muppets, from the iconic like Matt Vogel and Dave Goelz to the lesser talked about like James Waltall or Deb Spinney. These two have so much puppetry experience that really led them to being the perfect host for this podcast. On top of all that, Garrity is, in my opinion, one of the most talented Muppet fan artists of the last 15 years. His stuff is truly incredible. And Adam Kruetinger was an inspiration to hundreds of young puppeteers thanks to his incredibly useful resource videos where he went into all different aspects of puppet building. So many young puppeteers and so many young Muppet fans learned how to build their first puppets thanks to Adam. And today, it is my absolute honor to induct Adam Kruetinger and Garrity as a part of Puppeteers into the Muppet Fan Hall of Fame.
Okay, I've done this a bunch of times, and I'm rapidly approaching my deadline of submitting this to Tori. So I'm gonna do my best to get it done all in one take. Muppet fans, this means so much. To be recognized in this way, with this Fan Hall of Fame award, it's surreal. It's surreal to be receiving this award, just because it's such an honor. And it's also surreal because I think of myself as a kid who would have been desperate for a Muppet fan community. Adam, who was my co-host, of course, on Puppeteers, he loved puppetry. He was not a capital M, capital F Muppet fan. He always teased me for being one in the sweetest possible way. He discovered it later in life. He loved to say that he didn't know Fozzie Bear's real name until he was in college, because up until that point he thought it was either Fozziewig or Captain Trelawney, or whatever he was named in. That's not the point. He didn't know that. I on the other hand, have loved the Muppets for as long as I can remember. And I'm sorry, I know this is rambling, but when I was young and desperate for more information because the coffee table books weren't enough and the documentaries weren't enough, and there were only so many times that Carol Spinney could go on the Today Show to tell the Where To Mac story. And I remember being that kid and thinking, man, there needs to be a show where these puppeteers get asked questions that they've not been asked before and tell us what happened after this classic tale that you've told a million times. Adam and I worked together as partners in puppetry for over 14 years. We started Puppeteers about 6 years into that or so. And it was our stage to be able to talk to and ask questions to all of these artists who we looked up to, who over the years have been able to become our friends and our mentors, and to be able to spend that much time, even virtually, with these heroes of ours from these characters in our coffee table books was such a privilege. And for me, getting the opportunity to sit next to Adam for hours upon hours of interview questions and laughing and puppeteering, it was a joy, and it's something that I will fondly treasure. Fortunately, it was all recorded, so we all get to luxuriate in those conversations and that shop talk. And we have that documentation of these stories from these people. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who listened or watched the show. Of course, to all of our guests who came on, especially Jim Krupa, who was the one who, when we took his classes at the O'Neill Puppetry Conference, he would tell us his puppeteer stories and say he was always going to write a book. And when Adam and I started talking about doing this podcast, we knew exactly who to ask for a name. So, thank you to all of our friends and family who supported us. Adam, who I know is somewhere asking lots and lots of building questions to the people who came before us. And thank you again for recognizing this. The Muppet fan community is such a gift, is such a refuge in a dark world, and the fact that you are there is the honor of a lifetime, and to be recognized with this award really is humbling beyond belief. So thank you all, and congratulations to all the other awardees tonight.
All he had was 8 little notes, just 8 little notes, but oh, what Mr. B did with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, though. All he used were 8 little notes, just 8, count 'em 8 like these. He'd mix and match and hatch a batch of catchy melodies. Now I could take 2 notes and come up with nothing of note. Mr. B took a G and a flattened E and wrote fantastic. And all he had was 8 little notes, just 8 little notes like these, which goes to show that one man's scale is another man's symphonies. Oh yeah. Yet all he had was 8 little notes, just 8 little notes, just 8. But he wrote 9 symphonies and also some great quartets, quintets, fugues, and sonatas, plus an opera and a few cantatas, using only 8 little notes in a row. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do.